welcome to this episode of the Cinema Dash. As always, I'm Gabbs.
And I'm DeGe.
And today we have some sponsors, so I'm just going to run off the list real quick of the sponsors. So here we go. Sponsor number one. This episode of the Cinema Dash is brought to you by Chex Mix. Chex Mix. It's pretty good. Sponsor number two. Cinema Dash is also sponsored by Adidas because you didn't want to buy Nike. And sponsor number three. It's your normal one. Just the flashlights. When you just want to have a good old time by yourself, and you got no one else to have fun with. Flashlights.
Flashlights?
Flashlight. Flashlights. My new invention.
Flashlights. You know, it's really nice.
So you want to have a fun time, but you're also in the dark.
Yeah, of course. You got to see what you're fucking.
It's really dark in here, but God, I'm horny.
It's really those sponsors that keep the show going. You know. Yeah. So we want to give a big shout out to those
Chex
three.
Mix, Adidas,
to reiterate.
And flashlights.
Yes, exactly. Thank you all so much for allowing us to put food on the table and allowing us to continue this podcast. So, it's speaking of podcasts, we're on one.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Fuck. So we saw Atomic Blonde last night.
Absolutely.
And as of this recording, and we're gonna give our opinions on it.
We're gonna slump this review.
Hell yeah!
Right about now.
Hell
right about now. You want to do like 15 minutes?
No.
Oh.
I want to do it right now.
I am fine.
Right now.
Right.
Atomic Blonde is from one of the directors of John Wick, and it stars Charlize Theron, James McAvoy, and Toby Jones, and it's the story of Lorraine Broughton, who's like a MI6 agent, and she goes to Berlin in order to recover this thing from the KGB called the List. That pretty much has every single KGB agent on it, and if the list gets out, it could continue the Cold War, and could potentially start World War III.
Absolutely.
And so
that's pretty much the story.
It's like a spy thriller action movie. So when my first impressions of this movie is I was actually kind of excited to see it because David Leitch, I don't really know how to say his name, but he directed John
Leitch.
I hope he's not a fucking leech. But he directed the first John Wick, which is an amazing action movie. It's really, really good. And he's also directing Deadpool 2, which I'm very excited about. And it's got Charlize Theron in it, and she's currently one of my favorite working actresses. And James McAvoy's in it too, and you can't go wrong with a little McAvoy in your life. So needless to say, I was pretty excited,
especially as of recently, because he's been doing some pretty good work.
Absolutely,
I've been liking him a lot more and more.
Yeah, especially with the recent X-Men's and the Split we saw earlier this year. Check out that episode. So I was pretty excited for this movie, mostly because of all those things just combining together. And what about you, Ant?
I heard about this movie. I saw a trailer for it, and I wasn't really that impressed. Then I saw more and more promotions for it, and I'm like, yeah, I would see this movie. Yeah. So I knew a lot. It's a pretty big cast, like you said, Charlize Theron instead of Charlize Theron. Hey-oh, James McAvoy instead of Mac go fuck yourself. That's not funny.
That's just forced.
John Goodman.
Oh, John Goodman is in this movie.
More like John Greatman, because goddamn, isn't he not just terrific in everything?
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much.
Toby Jones, otherwise known as that short guy you see in every movie, who's quite old. How old is he?
Gotta be in his 60s, maybe.
Sophia Boutella, I think.
Sophia Boutella is in this movie as well.
Who is becoming quite the actress. She started off in the Kingsman movie. I would say that's sort of she got her big break, and then she got on to go into other movies like Star Trek,
Indeed.
The Mummy, this movie. I'm pretty sure there's one more that I'm missing, but I don't remember it. There's got to be one more.
It pretty much covers it.
Yeah. That's pretty much it in terms of in terms of people in this movie that are that are pretty big. But that's a pretty big cast considering.
Yeah, not for a movie of this kind of size where it's not too big, not too small. It's that sweet spot in the middle where it's a $30 million budget.
There's some recognizable people in this movie.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
this movie was kind of marketed as like a Jane Wick kind of thing.
Yeah,
that's the term I've been seeing thrown around a lot recently.
I was going to say more like it was like James Bond meets John Wick, but there's a girl instead.
Exactly. Yeah, that's pretty much. Yeah.
And
this movie is pretty good.
It's good.
It's good.
It's a good movie.
It's a good movie. Now, it's a good movie, but it's got some problems.
Yeah.
And no movie, almost no movie's perfect. But this one has a little bit of shortcomings. But overall, I say the experience was a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about what we liked about this movie. So right off the bat, the best part, the two best things about this movie.
Well, first off, I think we should say that to start the movie. I mean, you can go ahead. Actually, you can go ahead. I'll say my thing later.
Okay, sure. Well, right off the bat, the two best things about this movie, in my opinion, are Charlize Theron.
Yeah.
Because good lord, she is like. She's doing like kind of like a Jake Gyllenhaal assance or like a reconnaissance right now, like where she's just taking a bunch of like not like smaller roles but like more hard to perform roles and really nailing it. Like she's got Mad Max under her belt. She's got this movie under her belt. I think she's coming. She was in a couple other stuff that she was good in, but that's escaping me right now.
A couple other things.
But she's really just pulling off like a bunch of these great roles, and like with Jake Gyllenhaal with Nightcrawler, Southpaw. What did we just see that he was in? That was pretty good.
Not Life.
Not Life. He was okay in, but like.
That movie's just not.
My point being is that Jake Gyllenhaal has been in a lot of great. Oh, Nocturnal Animals.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. My point being is that Jake Gyllenhaal and like Matthew McConaughey and all them are like in the midst of taking great roles and like building up their names again and stuff like that in a sense. And Charlize Theron is undergoing hers right now, and she fucking nails this movie. This movie is like her bitch. Like she makes you her bitch in this movie, and it's fucking awesome. And also, the action sequences are absolutely fantastic, and that's of course with David Leitch directing this, because he, choreographed all of John Wick and stuff like that. So you're already expecting good action sequences. Which
now that you say that makes me a little bit more excited for Deadpool 2 because now we're gonna get better action scenes.
Yes,
not saying that the action scenes in the first one weren't good or anything, but I'm just saying now we can get more interesting ones.
Yes, exactly.
Like with a lot of comedy in it.
Indeed. Like everything in this movie is just like all the action sequences are just like so kinetic, and they're so like brutal. Like there's one scene, the stairwell scene, the 10-minute long single take of the stairwell scene.
That was beautiful.
Is gonna go down as one of the best scenes this year, scenes in cinema this year. And what I really liked about the action sequences is that they felt like weighty, if that would be like the right word to describe it. They felt like weighty. Charlize Theron is like in this movie. She's like an athletic, like maybe 150-pound, like kind of smaller woman. Well, not smaller, but like kind of she's at a disadvantage from like everybody else.
Have you seen Charlize Theron? Just think about how much she weighs and how big she is. That's her in this movie.
Yeah, and imagine her with just like a tad bit more muscle. So like more of an athletic build. So she's going up against like muscular Russian. 210 Russian dudes.
Yeah.
And like she's like getting the shit kicked out of her, but she's also kicking the shit out of these dudes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like
she can take a punch and she can also give a punch back.
Exactly. And like they're throwing her around, like they're breaking shit everywhere. She's getting the shit kicked out of her. She's getting like bones broken, but she's like dishing it right back.
The one thing I want to mention too in this is that like the action in this, like also during the one takes 10-minute long scene, the action is very believable.
Oh yeah, it's extremely realistic.
Like, sometimes you just like, oh, someone throws a chair at someone, they get knocked out. I mean, depending on where you throw it, then you're gonna get knocked out. But if you throw it at their chest, you're not gonna, they might get pushed over. But but it's more realistic just because like the longer you look at it, the more tired they get, and and the actions are slower. And they start like each hit starts getting a little bit more and more ruthless because they want to give it they want this shot to be like the last one.
Yeah.
So I like that a lot.
It's very like visceral, and like I was reading actually the official discussion of this movie on r/movies, and I was reading a comment of a guy who really liked the movie, and he was like the best part about the action sequences were the physics, in a sense, because they were saying like how Charlize Theron is like this like 150-pound athletic built woman, and then she's going up against like these 210-pound like Russian dudes who are like muscular and shit, like KGB agents, and she's like holding her own. He was like the physics are that when she punches somebody, they'll get like stumble back a little bit, but when somebody punches her, she goes fucking flying. Or like she gets like real hurt or something like that. And like what you said before, like the fights start to get slower, they start to get like way more visceral, they start to get a lot more like long-winded and like you could see them like running out of breath. You could see it's like taking a toll on these characters and the actors too.
Yeah.
And it's like just so refreshing to see that in a movie because like with John Wick, you get a little bit of that, but like he's like a highly trained assassin. Like he's been built from the start to go along.
I'll give you the perfect example. And it seems like in movies like Atomic Blonde, you get like the one shot 10-minute long scene where you see them actually get tired the longer the shot goes.
Yeah.
That's really believable. In John Wick 2, you get, Common and Keanu Reeves shooting each other like in a train station with silenced pistols. Like, you gotta see that shit. Come on.
So badass.
It's really funny and badass, but like you gotta like come on.
Yeah.
There are people walking in their opposite directions and they see the gun just like.
Yeah, but in Atomic Blonde, I will say the action sequences are way more realistic and way more visceral. But like and we're probably gonna be comparing this movie a lot to John Wick, mostly because it's the same director and it's kind of like that same like secret agent assassin operative type thing. So like with John Wick, like he's like been built from the start to like go long bouts of like fighting and stuff like that. It makes sense because he's this
John Wick
legend of an assassin.
John Wick is also like the same like build as some of these guys he's fighting against.
Yes, yeah, exactly. But like with this, it's like she's just like a secret agent. She's like not like an assassin. She wasn't like born and bred to be a fighter. She was more like espionage, tactical stuff.
I will say this though, to kind of jump onto a different topic. I think this might be one of my favorite women roles in movies.
Oh yeah.
Like she portrays like the strong woman. She gets the shit done. But people want more.
Takes no bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But people want more in movies. This is like ideal. I think this is like the most ideal you can probably get.
Yeah, as like a strong like this. Ripley from Alien, like just strong, like women who don't take shit.
Of the decade, I would say like this is probably like one of the best female characters.
Oh, absolutely, no question about it.
To counter that, you get like this is like the most ideal you can possibly get. And then you get the female Ghostbusters who are all just awful
caricatures.
Just why? None of these. This wasn't.
I still haven't seen that. Nor do I plan on it.
You really shouldn't. I still want to do this one day where we do like a drunk episode. I don't know when that will happen. Probably not for a while.
Yeah, I do agree that she's like the kind of like the quintessential leading lady, badass female action hero that you could possibly get, and especially she's one of the best I think leading female characters of the decade so far. She's just so badass in this movie.
Which is funny because Charlize Theron in this movie and Charlize Theron in Mad Max would probably be in the same. Will be like she's like the two probably most badass leading ladies in a movie of this decade.
Yeah,
between her
and that's like a really hard feat to like accomplish.
I applaud
nowadays
this movie for that.
Yes. So yeah, the action is absolutely fantastic. The one 10-minute long take is like it's like shit that inspires me. Honestly, just like the fact that like the direction is just so like solid.
I will say this as well with it. When it comes to like the one shot takes, you get to see like maybe it's not an entirely one shot take, but the editing is like really good. With like they look away real quick and they like jump right back into it. Like
a Birdman style editing.
Kind of like someone like throws say that someone throws something, they follow the object that's being thrown. That's like a cut, and they bounce right back into the action.
I did notice like spots where they could have cut.
It does that sometimes, but like it's still like flawless. How like those like
the way it flows.
Like it follows like the objects being thrown if it's like if it were to like play a role in a fight later, in the same fight later.
Right.
But it's a really good scene. Like
I don't know. To me, it did look like a full 10-minute long take. But I did notice spots in which it like could have cut.
Yeah.
Like there were parts where like characters would walk across the camera, like completely dirtying the frame.
Yeah.
So like they could have cut there, like Birdman style editing, where like if somebody would like walk across the camera, it would cut there and then it would just pick up right there. I did notice that, but it did really look like a 10-minute long take. And if there was editing, like I didn't notice it.
Yeah.
And that's amazing in its own on its own right there. But yeah, that stairwell sequence is just so fucking
It's
good.
weird because like it just keeps going and going. Like, how long can they drag this out? But it's not like a bad drag. It's like it's because it's really really good what they do with it.
And you start to like, and as an audience member, you start to feel the like as the shot continues to just go on and on. You're just like, this is still going. Like, oh my god. And like it's the same as the actors, you know, because like they're like she's like fighting for her life in this entire stairwell, and she's like, shit, there's more guys. This is still going. And as an audience member, you're like, oh fuck, like this is just she's got more shit to deal with. Like this is still going.
I like how they utilize spyglass in that scene too, because you feel like he's just like, oh, she's gonna put him on the stairwell, and then just, she's gonna go fight everyone. No, like he actually helps.
Yeah, like he contributed a little bit to the fight.
Like he wasn't just some useless like
Pizza chit.
It feels like a kind of like a guide, like levels in games where you have to bring someone somewhere, but you gotta make sure they.
Oh, like an escort mission.
Yeah, it feels like an escort mission, but like it's like a good escort mission.
Yeah, like a Last of Us instead of a GoldenEye.
I never played. I played GoldenEye a couple times, but I haven't played Last of Us, so I wouldn't know what you're talking about.
Gotta do it. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about. But yeah, so action sequences fantastic. Charlize Theron gives one of the best performances of her career in this movie. She's absolutely stellar in this movie. She's sexy, she's badass, she's just so likable. It's just like, oh, it's so awesome.
Charlize Theron can play the shit emoji and she'll be still attractive.
True.
Yeah.
Very true.
Not to say that Patrick Stewart's not attractive.
Don't kick my ass, Patrick Stewart, please. One thing I wanted to touch on that I really, really liked about this movie is that is the cinematography in this movie is just so good.
You can just go straight this one.
Oh my god, it's so good in this movie. I didn't know actually from the trailer. I only watched one trailer, and it was like the teaser trailer, and I didn't know that this movie was actually set in the 80s. And if you've watched the podcast, if you've watched the podcast since its inception,
listen to it. You can't watch.
If you listen to the podcast,
if you could somehow watch this, I applaud you. Just because it's one picture, it's not moving. We used to do video, but then like we realized that it's kind of dumb.
It's kind of a dumb idea.
Because it's like 10 seconds. It's on repeat.
Yeah.
But if you watch this and like not do anything else,
you're weird.
Yeah, I'm gonna say
weird.
I'm gonna say you're weird. Just do something else, like play a game, do work.
Seriously, that's what I do.
Read something.
Yeah.
If you can multitask like that, I don't know. Anyway, back to cinematography.
So I didn't realize that
jerk off thing.
I didn't realize that this movie was set in the 1980s. And you know, if you've watched the podcast for a very long time, you'll know that I love the 80s. I'm a huge fan of the 80s.
Same.
Literally our style of the podcast is like synthwave 80s. Like, come on, dude. Or if you watched any of the feature films, I do neo-noir movies inspired by the 80s. Like, fuck, dude. Where have you been?
Yeah, the title, the text we have in the opening crawl is in True Lies.
Is True Lies font, and it's in neon pink. Yeah. Like, dude, come on.
Our banner on the front page of our channel is like a cityscape of LA at night.
Yeah.
So
so if you haven't gotten it by now, what are you doing?
We look to make more cool things for it, but that's another story for another day.
Yeah. So, like, this movie's like very blue and gray. It uses like a weird color scheme. It uses like blue, gray, and white.
No, normally I like the blue gray tint, like shades like that. Especially at work, it's like the one color I go to. But like, it kind of put me off sometimes, and it works and doesn't work at the same time. So I kind of like I'm in the middle with I'm on the fence with it. So
like, this movie uses like a weird color scheme, which in itself is like very representative of the setting because it's like Berlin in the middle of the winter. So it's like very blue, gray, and white.
Yeah, and to be fair, like I don't know what color you could use in winter, like snow-covered Berlin, snow-colored East and West Berlin.
Yeah, there's not much color to be had there. Yeah. So, but and where there is color in this movie, it like pops. It really pops. Like I mentioned, there's a hotel she stays in, right? And it's like straight out of like I Want to Live There. It's like neon pink with turquoise. It's
like Miami Vice color.
It's like Miami Vice color. It's like drenched in like neon pink and the neon turquoise. Like it's just drenched in it. And it just looks so nice because it just conveyed like the feeling of like, okay, she's like home, she's like kind of safe in this area, but there's also still like a sense of like lingering danger. And like I noticed that as the movie progressed, it went from like a little bit like more blue to like way more red as like her
more pink than anything.
Yeah, like as her like situation in Berlin started to like become more shitty.
Yeah.
So it's like a sense of like urgency is like being is like creeping in through the color, which I thought was a fantastic detail. And like it starts to feel like this place that was like once safe, where she had like her base of operations, where she like recuperate and stuff, started to get more and more dangerous and like volatile. And the color really reflected that in the cinematography, which was so cool. And just the cinematography of like the action sequences as well. I love the way they used. I love the way they framed the stairwell scene. While still being handheld, it wasn't like shaky. It was like still very clear to see. While it was a little like just a tad shaky, it worked. Because it just added to like the.
I mean, it didn't.
Just the hopelessness.
It didn't overdo it.
No, not
at
all.
In fact, I would go as far as I don't remember them even using shaky cam. It was that underused.
It's no Bourne movie.
Yeah.
You know, if you've ever seen a Bourne movie, those movies are littered with shaky cam. They're okay.
Really? I'd be like the one person that would say you gotta watch those fucking movies, dude. It would be you.
I mean, like here's the deal. Like Bourne. Sidetrack. Bourne Ultimatum, great movie. The first two, they're good.
Yeah,
they're good.
And then Legacy and the other. And
I haven't seen the one with Jeremy Renner, and I haven't seen the new one yet. So I don't have opinions on those.
Yeah.
But my point being is that it's no Bourne movie with shaky cam. It's used tastefully is pretty much what I'm getting at. And the rest of the cinematography is just beautiful. Just the way they frame conversations, the way they talk to each other. I love how when there's like when they do something like completely different. Like when they're having conversations and James McAvoy and Charlize Theron are talking, they'll put the camera directly in front of James McAvoy and Charlize Theron, and they'll talk into the camera.
I like that too.
Which is like a POV shot, which I thought was really cool. And it gave that sense of like, okay, it's like a spy espionage thriller kind of thing. They didn't use like conventional like.
It's weird too because like you don't know whether or not it's talking to you, the audience member, or to whoever.
Yeah, and they didn't use like conventional. Actually, I want to get back to that a little bit. But they didn't use like conventional like over the shoulder shot, 180-degree roll, over the shoulder shot, like your basic conversation where it cuts back and forth and stuff like that with your L cuts and your J cuts and whatever. They just use. They use that as a POV shot, which I thought was cool, and it worked sometimes. And I'll get into that when we talk about our negatives and or like nitpicks about this movie. But point being, cinematography is absolutely fantastic in this movie, and the editing was really good as well.
Yeah,
I got to say the editing was very very good as well.
The side characters are also really good too.
Yeah, James McAvoy was really was likable for the most part in this movie.
I liked him in this movie.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it right now. James McAvoy is becoming one of my favorite actors now.
He is a fantastic actor, and I think he's really underrated, honestly. Because he is really known, but he's not like household name yet, you know. So like I really want to see him just like get that one role. You know what I mean? That one role that just like catapults him into like superstardom.
So it's like the Oscar bait movie role.
Yes and no. Just like an iconic role. You know, like with Tom Cruise, it would be like, I don't know, like Jerry Maguire or like Ethan Hunt from Mission Impossible. Like someone that just like a role that like just propels him into superstardom. Because he has like big roles. Like, you know, he's the main character in the X-Men movies, or one of the main characters in the X-Men movies, this new franchise. He's had what else did he do? Split, he was pretty well recognized for.
I think he did a lot more British films to start.
He did do some British films. He was in Wanted, and he was pretty popular back when Wanted came out. Like he had like waves of popularity. You know what I mean? Like, cause he would do like indie films, like Filth or Trance and stuff like that, and they would be like, okay, he did like a good performance, but like it's not like seen on like a wide scale. Those are movies that gross like 1.5 million, like movies like that. But then you have like X-Men that are grossing like billions and billions of dollars and stuff like that. And like he's well known, but like he comes in like waves of popularity. I feel like this movie will kind of like just be another one of those like, okay, he's like under the radar type things. But Because Charlize Theron, let's be real, is the one that really stands out in this movie.
Yeah.
Is like the real standout.
She's the one that's gonna get the name, the people in the audience.
Yeah.
She's the one recognizable name. Yeah, exactly. And you get like people like John Goodman, and who is like probably the best like secondary actor you can.
Yeah, like one of the quintessential like character actors.
Like he's the most. You can't have me in a leading role movie ever. Actor
but like
ever.
but like when he does have a leading role, like he's good. You know.
What movie is he good in with a leading role?
10 Cloverfield Lane.
He's the villain. He's a villain.
Role.
There's only 3 people. I would consider him a side character. I would say the main character
Big
is
Lebowski.
He's a side character. The Big Lebowski's Jeff Bridges.
I know, but like
he's a side character though. The movie's not about Jeff. It's not about John Goodman. It's about Jeff Bridges.
I don't know, man. I would say 10 Cloverfield Lane's a leading role.
The one movie I can name right now with him as the leading character is the Flintstones.
Oh my god.
The live-action Flintstones. I
remember the Flintstones.
Yeah,
I remember that movie.
Remember how bad that one was?
I don't know. I haven't seen it since I was like 7. But it was probably terrible.
You really should.
Yeah, it was probably terrible.
There's like one more movie he had that's like he was a leading role and it was a bad movie. But this but he's an amazing actor.
I agree.
He will win. He will probably. I don't know if he's ever won a best supporting actor role, but he should a best supporting actor award, whether it's an Oscar or any kind of other award on that scale.
I do believe there were a couple Oscar-worthy roles in his career.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Or at least nominations, or Golden Globe nominations, or something. You know, I do think he's given some good performances that are worthy of that.
Him and Toby Jones are both like really good secondary actors.
Yeah, Toby Jones as well is pretty solid in this movie. Sophia Boutella in this movie is actually pretty likable as well.
Yeah, I think she might be one of my. I think she's like within my top 3 favorite characters in this movie. I would say. Considering
of all 5 characters in this movie.
I mean, like there's like the other Russian guys.
There's a couple characters. No, I was just playing, but yeah, she's like more of like a naive kind of like. This is her first mission.
It's like her first really big mission.
Yeah. And she was really likable in this movie. Mm-hmm. So
I think
let's talk about a certain scene that happens in this movie.
So to preface this, the one thing that we can agree on as this movie, like a minus for this movie, is how much it drags. So I'm gonna start off this conversation about this one scene.
Let's start off the negatives with our last positive.
Yes. The last positive is probably the biggest positive in this entire movie. Because the one main minus, like I said, is the fact that this movie drags a lot. I would say this movie drags a lot in the beginning. There's like 1 or 2 action scenes to start at the beginning. They're not that big. They're not the big 10-minute long scene, but they're good. But they're small, good enough, like 5-minute long action sequences that are pretty good. In fact, one of Charlize Theron's favorite action sequences in this movie is before this one scene. It's the one where she like fights everyone with like the hose. Which is still pretty good. Which is a really awesome scene.
Yes.
Choreographed perfectly. I would say almost perfectly. There's a couple things here and there that are like, the camera's a little quick, so you don't really see like what happened. You're like, I mean, like she did that, but like I want to see like maybe let me catch up to this. Stop instead of like moving the camera every so often. So there's a lesbian scene, and immediately I just think that's a perfect movie. Like you agree, right? Like we just turn to each other like, this is a perfect movie. This is the best movie ever made.
We saw this with 2 friends of ours. And my one friend who was sitting next to me, Ian, we had him on the podcast for Baby Driver. He's a gay man, and I leaned over to Ian. Like Ian started looking at me as soon as this scene started happening, and he like looked back at the screen, and I was like, "Hey Ian," and he was like, "What?" And I was like, "This is the best fucking movie I've ever seen." And he was like,
like this movie just get like 10 times fucking better.
I was like, "This is the best movie I've ever seen."
They also say it's between Charlize Theron and Sophia Boutella, which I didn't realize I wanted so badly.
No, not at all. When I looked at this movie and I saw Atomic Blondie, I was like, Sophia Boutella and Charlize Theron, that's cool. And then they started making out, and I was like,
oh, that's really cool. So I'm into that.
I'm jack off to this. No, I'm just kidding. But it was a very spicy scene.
And then take it a step further. And, oh my God, they started to touch everywhere.
Everywhere.
I'm just kind of in my seat like, oh.
And my last positive that I wanted to bring up for this movie is the soundtrack. The soundtrack is so badass in this movie.
It was cool too because the day I was coming back from down the shore, the 80s on 8 on Sirius XM had Charlize Theron as the host.
No shit.
Yeah, so they played music entirely from the soundtrack, which is really cool because it got me like to listen to like a bunch of like music that I haven't heard in a while. Some of it I haven't even heard of because it's actually 80s music from Germany, which is actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
And some of it's actually pretty catchy.
Yeah.
Like the one fight sequence has German 80s music in it, and it's pretty cool. I think it actually fit perfectly with it.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get songs like "Father Figure" by George Michael.
Hell yeah.
Which is used in another fight scene, which is like really fucking cool. It's like Charlize Theron just beating the shit out of like 5 or 6 guys while George Michael's father figures in the background.
Oh my god. But the soundtrack is so badass in this movie, and like I love the fact that they set this movie in 1989, so they had like the full range of like the entire 80s to use, and like. Oh my god, there's so many good songs. There's like Personal Jesus by Depeche Mode, 99 Love Balloons by Nina, Father Figure by George Michael. There's so many badass songs in this movie. London Calling by The Clash is in this movie. I like so many good songs.
That one song with Queen and David Bowie.
Oh, Under Pressure? Yeah, Under Pressure's in this movie.
Under pressure, push it down on me, pushing down on you, no man asshole.
Are you leaving? Why are you leaving?
I want to make as much noise as possible.
Oh, okay. But yeah, the soundtrack is killer in this movie.
Yeah.
So now that was our last positive, let's shimmy on over into the negative.
Let's lay the pipe in the negatives.
Let's lay the pipe in the negatives. So we can both agree that this movie's biggest flaw is its pacing.
It drags a lot.
In the first act, really is just
it's really slow.
Near snooze fest, which kind of sucks.
I'm like, well, like I was gonna say, like we said before this lesbian sequence, this movie is the lesbian scene.
Honestly,
it's like, oh, this isn't really gonna be a good movie, is it? If you have its good fighting scenes, but like everything else is gonna just be like, oh, it's not that good.
Honestly, yeah, though, like it's kind of gross to say, but like after the lesbian sex scene is where like they really start to pick up, like the movie starts to pick up. Like there's great action sequences before then, like two solid action sequences.
Well, there's like one small one, and then there comes the one with the father figure.
Yeah.
And the father figure one's like the one where it's like I would say it probably picks up right after that, but I think we can all agree that like.
It like kicks into nth gear.
The sex scene really helps. I mean, any movie really.
It kicked into nth gear after the sex scene. So yeah, this movie is really, really slow in the first. Really in the first act of this movie, and another big problem with this movie that it's not like the story is really convoluted for no reason, and like it like this movie.
You just
like it bills itself as like this John Wick action thriller, but what you actually get is like this espionage spy thriller.
A very long narrative with action sequences.
Yeah, like I wasn't expecting this much story to be put in there, and like not that it's a bad thing because stories are great and stuff like that, especially long convoluted ones, and like when they all wrap
especially one
together at the end
in
a nice big bow. Yeah, and like this movie, like the way it presents its narrative is super confusing.
Yeah,
And that brings me back to what I was mentioning before with the POV shots.
Yeah.
It's like this movie kind of like really just commits like the carnal sin of like pandering to the audience, because some of those scenes that I mentioned where there's like POV shots of James McAvoy and Charlize Theron talking to each other are long scenes of exposition. So it feels like when the camera is framed and like James McAvoy is looking directly into the camera, he's literally telling you the plot. You know what I mean?
It's kind of like, it's also like, I just thought about this now. It's kind of like he's like, they're both checking up on you, like, hey, you still with us?
Yeah, he's like, all
right, let's keep going.
Yeah, so
like you're in class and you're kind of like passing out, like in the seat, and the teacher like just kind of like comes up behind you, he's like, you fucking awake, you little bitch. Like, oh shit.
Oh jeez. But yeah, so like there's like in particular the one scene in which they're explaining the list. James McAvoy's like looking directly at the camera to Charlize Theron. He's like, yeah, the list is a thing of Russian agents. It could cause World War III. It can continue the Cold War. Blah blah blah. It's like,
no,
me?
Oh,
Talking to me, or are you talking to Charlize? It's like, the movie just panders to the audience a lot, and like there were so many better ways to really tell this story, but the fact that they just went down that route kind of. I don't want to say it's lazy because there was a shit ton of effort put into this movie, but it was obvious that more it was obvious that like 90% of the effort was put into the action sequences, the editing, the cinematography, the soundtrack, and like the rest was like the story was like, oh shit, we gotta write a story for this thing, and then he wrote it, and then they were just like, let's make it kind of convoluted.
Yeah, the lesbian sex scene really helped.
But yeah, so it feels like the story was kind of like an afterthought in this whole thing, which kind of sucks because like the story in itself was actually kind of a cool idea.
It would have been really cool, just if a general audience can follow it.
Yeah, it was really convoluted for no reason.
For what it was.
Yeah.
That's like my two big things are like it dragged a lot and I didn't really understand the story. A lot of it could have been cut too. Like this little.
Yeah, I feel like you could cut down a little bit.
Movie, like 2 hours.
This movie had to be like 2 hours and 15 minutes around there.
I feel like this could have very easily been like an hour and 45.
Yeah, hour 45 around there. You could have cut. There was a lot of stuff that could have been cut from this movie.
Not the lesbian sex scene though.
No, definitely not. No. We should replace the cut time with lesbian sex.
It's actually required now. Every
movie needs to have a lesbian sex scene now. We're making it an official cinema dash decree.
But this is a movie with a bunch of dudes. So we'll just get two people. Just two girls. I don't fucking care who.
But it's about two guys locked in a room together.
We'll throw two in real quick and we'll pull them right out.
I'll pull them out. There we go. Yeah.
But it's Batman v Superman, so we just throw Wonder Woman
and Lois Lane. What's the problem? There you go. Amy Adams and Gal Gadot.
Like that movie would have probably been like a lot better. Like, I would have
went from like a 3 to a 9.
I wouldn't have yelled as much. Yeah,
we did yell a lot in that episode. We did.
But yeah, the lesbian sex scene. Really
but any other things you didn't like about the movie?
Its lack of lesbian sex scenes, as in like, why is there only one? No, that's not
any other nitpicks.
No, I really say no. It's the story's kind of convoluted. It drags a lot, and yeah.
All right. Well then. So let's rate this bad boy, shall we?
All right, bad girl. It's
you're right.
I would say, I would. Why don't you go first? Let's get the bad.
I would atomic 7.5 blondes out of 10.
That doesn't make any fucking sense.
Why don't you suck my dick?
I would I would watch like about 7. I would watch about 7 lesbian sex scenes out of 10.
Okay.
I would.
Okay.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
I would say I would buy 7 watches out of 10.
Oh yeah.
I would
watchmaker who is played by Til Schweiger.
I would take part in a 7 out of 10 minute long one shot sequence where I kick the shit out.
What did you give it? 7?
7 out of 10. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a good 7 out of 10 movie.
7 out of 10, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
see, like, with this movie, like, I was thinking about it, like, this would be one of those movies that FX buys and stuff like that. But
probably
like,
not really.
The action's too gruesome for it.
I wouldn't even say that. I would feel like,
but like, it's too good for FX.
It's gonna be like a 3-hour, like 3.5 hour long movie on FX. That's like, it probably belongs more on like HBO. Like, that's so stupid. Like, thinking about that. It's like, there's a lot of great movies on FX, but like, they're so butchered. The lesbian sex scene really belongs in Cinemax, if you know what I'm saying. Hey yo, that's they touch boobs and yeah. I really want to die.
So, you want to close this out?
Yes, with another word from our sponsors right before we close off this episode. Let me just get my paper here with all my sponsors. There we go. This episode of the Cinema Dash was brought to you by Poland Spring. Poland Spring. It's the water we always drink when we're doing the episodes. It's very, very, very nourishing. Yeah, if Poland Spring wants to give us a little bit of a, little cha-ching. Yeah, a little 10% off on the waters because, goddamn, if we water's a human right. Yeah. Other sponsors. The country of Canada. Canada. Why the fuck not? And our last sponsor for the night, or for this episode rather. It's not a weird one for whatever reason. Butt plugs. you plug them in the wall to charge your phone, and you don't keep them in your pocket. You keep them in your ass. So there's that. Anyway, that's up for our sponsors, all 6 of them for this episode. Surprising amount considering last episode we had absolutely none. So
yeah, really, the growth.
Yeah, the real
growth has.
Yeah, I think the jump from 38 subscribers to 39 subscribers
really solidified us as one of the leading podcasts on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta say. Dude, how could we forget? We missed one sponsor. Hold on. Forgot to turn the page over. Gotta turn the page
sorry about that. Yeah, we had 7 sponsors instead.
We forgot one more sponsor. So it was Adidas.
The flashlights, the butt plug where it's literally just a charger, but you put it in your ass. Canada.
Yeah, Canada.
Poland Spring.
Really, really big thanks to Canada on that one. You know, you had to pull through. Justin Trudeau, you're a friend of the show.
Oh, and Chex Mix.
And Chex Mix, yes. So, Roxy Clean. Keep your rocks clean.
Get mittens. You'll be smitten. Meow.
Hey, thanks for watching the Cinema Dash.
Oh, this is the ending. This is the most superb ending to any episode you ever had.
This is probably my favorite ending ever. Thanks, computer. You're the best.
You're welcome.
So, hey,
see you later.
I'm DeGe.
And I'm Gabbs, and this is what our outro looks like.